Hi, beautiful plant people, and welcome back. It is officially spring, and what does spring bring? Spring brings spring cleaning and decluttering. And I want to declutter some of my plants that no longer bring me joy. They sit on my windowsill or sit on the table, and I rarely look at them. I can't appreciate the beauty of them anymore, so I will let them go, and perhaps someone else can enjoy the beauty that I no longer find for these plants. So I have 11 plants in front of me that I am going to let go. So I thought it was the perfect time now for me to declutter and let go of these plants that I no longer feel anything for. When I did purchase the plants, the thing about being a plant collector, plants can be expensive at the height of their kind of popularity. And once they become a little less popular, they become less expensive. So I will try to let you know what the cost of the plants were when I did buy them. Try to insert pictures of the original from around the time when I did purchase them and what that plant looked like. And I'll try to explain to you why I no longer feel to keep these plants. And it's perfectly okay to let go of some of your plants. It's perfectly okay to throw them in the garbage. It's perfectly okay to sell them. It's perfectly okay to give them away. It's perfectly okay to pass them down. Whatever you feel, it's your plant collection. You determine how you want your plant collection to fulfill you. And if it no longer fulfills you, it's perfectly okay to release those plants. So let's start with the plant that I have in front of me. There is no particular order of dislike for these plants. They're just plants that no longer bring me joy. First up is the Hoya Carnosa Gray Ghost, and this plant is from, let me look. Yes, so my Hoya Carnosa Gray Ghost was $85 when I purchased it a little over 2 years ago. I believe it was around February 2023 for $85. It had either 4 or 5 leaves on it, and it has not grown at all. Maybe a little bit. Maybe it did get a couple. Maybe it got 1 new leaf and then 2 fell off. It was repotted once. It was dealing with a bad case of flat mites, and I had repotted it in December to try to see if we can get it to grow, and it has not grown. I have lost all of the love for this plant. It's in pretty rough shape. I often forget to even water it. I mean, it gets really wrinkly before I even water it. I don't have much love for this plant, and $85 is what I paid for it. It brings me no joy. So I will be letting go of this Hoya Carnosa Gray Ghost. It still has the scarring from the flat mites. You can see on the upper, you can see on the top and also the bottom of the leaf. Like, it really just brings me no joy whatsoever. So I will be letting go of this plant. Next up is a cutting, $10 at the time. And this was, when did this happen? Yes, so this was a $10 cutting that I purchased from Jenna's mother plant. And you can see this is supposed to be a Carnosa Freckle splash, and the leaves have lost all the deep pigment of the green, and it's really quite yellow, and you can't even really, I mean, the splash is there, but it really the splash doesn't really stand out if if the leaves don't have a deep green. So either it was bleached from the sun. It did give me, it did bloom for me a couple, maybe 3 times, and had these beautiful flowers. So I will insert a picture or video of the flowers when they were fully in bloom. It did deal with some mealy bugs, but I don't believe the mealy bugs came from this plant. I believe it came from the plant that it was sitting beside, but I haven't seen mealy bugs on it, and you can see the peduncle there. But yeah, it's a lot. There's no love for this plant. It is well rooted, and I have it set up, kind of a self-watering system. But yeah, I can't appreciate this plant anymore. So it is time for me to let it go. So this is the Hoya Carnosa Freckles splash that no longer brings me joy. So I will let her go. And next up is a cactus, a rabbit's ear cactus, I believe. Purchased this from a big box store, I believe. Yeah, like a Canadian Tire or Home Depot or something like that. It was doing well. I don't appreciate it anymore. I mean, it sits on my windowsill. I do have one funny story about it. Because this has, the little spikes that come out of it. I forgot that it was there, and I was looking out my window. My chin scraped up against the spikes, and I had spikes sticking out of my chin, which kind of looked like I had, a beard. So I had to take the tweezers and pluck all of them out. So yeah, that is one story I can say. One story I have about this cactus, but yeah, it doesn't bring me any joy. This is not the biggest that it's been. It was a little bit bigger. It had other pieces that kind of became top heavy, and it kind of just flopped over. You can see that it's a little bent because it was a little top heavy before. But yeah, I'm gonna let this go. It brings me no joy. I can't actually remember how much I purchased it for. It was probably under $10 at the time, and I can't remember how long I've had it. Maybe 3 or 4 years it's been in my that I've had it, but yeah, it brings me no joy, so I will let her go. Next up is, some might say, why would you get rid of this? But is the Monstera Albo. This is a mid-cutting that I purchased, I believe, in maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and this was from a plant expo, or one of those botanical expo shows. It was the vendor had different price points, and I believe the mid-cutting price point was $85 or $90 or $95 for mid-piece cutting. It was not rooted when I purchased it. I did manage to get it rooted, and then I potted up in this mineral magic mix. I have neglected it. It's sitting on my dining table in front of the window, and you can see it's starting to yellow. I forget to fertilize it. I mean, I have fertilizer that's ready to go, but I just can't seem to remember to fertilize it, especially when you have it in a non-soil substrate. You do have to fertilize it because it could lack nutrients that's in the substrate. So you can see it's yellowing. I haven't had any pests with this. It's just not looking in the best shape that it can, and it brings me no joy looking at it the way that it is. So I will let my Monstera Albo go. Like I said, I probably purchased this 3 years ago. Yeah, 2.5 to 3 years ago. And it was $85 to $95 for the mid cutting. And I potted it up. it was propagating in water, and it got a very, very good, healthy root system. I'll insert some video pictures of the roots and what it originally looked like. It's just lackluster now, right? Like the green is not shiny. It's just kind of dull and yellowing. It's getting crispy, which is common when you have the white, when you have a Variegata plant, and the white, because of the lack of chlorophyll, gets crispy quite quickly and dies back. So yeah, it's just not looking the best. So I would like to release it, and maybe somebody else could bring it back to life and appreciate it more than I can. So I will let my Monstera Albo go. Right. And next up is Hoya, another Hoya, and this is the Hoya Kerrii Splash. Hoya Kerrii Splash, which I purchased online from a vendor, and I believe it was $39. And let me see how long ago this was. Oh yes, okay. Yeah, it was, I purchased this in April 2022, so almost 3 years that I've had it. You can see it has flat mite damage there, which is very common, of course, for Hoyas. It brings me no joy, although I would love to see this grow on a trellis, and I would love to see this grow on a trellis with all the lovely heart-shaped leaves, but it's bleached from the sun. It doesn't grow. It just kind of is what it is. I haven't transplanted since I received it. It just doesn't bring me any joy. So it is, April of 2022, so almost 3 years, and the price that I purchased at was $39, and it just doesn't bring me any joy. So I will let this one go. Perhaps somebody else can appreciate it more. Next up are two of the same plants, and these are what you call the booby cactus. These plants were probably one of the first set of plants that I purchased online, and they were probably about half the size. They sit in the windowsill, same thing. They're a little bleached from the sun. You can see the new growth is coming in at the top. It looks nice and green, kind of like a bluey green color, but you can see that the older parts, they're all, they're browning, kind of wrinkly, don't look very nice. And not to say that your plants have to look the best all the time. Of course, they go through cycles and they lose leaves, but these no longer bring me joy. I will not even attempt to say the scientific name. I will put it on the screen. I don't want to butcher it. Yeah, the booby cactus were the thing at the time. They were about half the size, and they were $35 each when I purchased it, and this would have been maybe September 2020. Yeah, September 2020 I purchased these, so $35 each. So it is time for me to let go of my booby cacti. Time to let them go. So those I will be letting go of. Next up is the Epipremnum Pinnatum Albovariegata. This was not the original plant. So when I purchased this plant, it was $59. This is a cutting from the original plant. It is really beautiful. I just cannot appreciate it. I have it set up in a self-watering system. You can see it's well rooted, or at least one good root. I'm sure there are others in there. Mother plant got spider mites that I could not eradicate. So I cut a couple of pieces back and tried to propagate it. This is the one piece that's remaining. It's lovely. I mean, I don't do much with it. I just add some water. I probably should fertilize it more often. I should fertilize it more often, and I just can't remember to do so. Yeah, it's in mineral magic mix, not in soil. But I do want to get rid of this. I mean, it's lovely and all, but it just doesn't bring me any joy. It's small and cute. Well, I mean, it's nice, but I would love to see this as a large plant, you know, perhaps a nice hanging plant in a hanging, in a macrame hanger hanging down. But yeah, the original, I'll have to insert in pictures or video of the original on the screen, but this is a propagation from the mother plant that was damaged from spider mites. Purchased originally in, same thing, April 2022, originally purchased in April 2022. And it cost about, it was $59 at that time. You could probably get this a much larger size for, you know, half that price, but that's what the cost was at that time. And I have a few more to go. So this is, oh gosh, I don't even know the name of this succulent or this cactus. I don't even know the name of this plant. I purchased it from one of the vendors at a plant expo. I mean, it's pretty. The variegation is lovely with the pink and the green and the white. I just have no appreciation for it. It's pretty. I forget to water it. It sits between the window and the curtain, and so the curtain is in front of it, and I forget that it's there, and it's managed to, you know, stay alive. But yeah, I don't love it, so I'm going to let it go. I will put the name of the name on the screen once I find it. I can't remember how much I purchased it for, so if I can find the price, I will also put it on the screen. My guess is that it was around, my guess is probably around $30. And yeah, it is time for me to let this one go. So, and like I said, somebody else can appreciate it. I will either, you know, the plants that I'm letting go will be, well, I'll give them away, and hopefully somebody else can appreciate it more. The tiger fern, I know, my OG fern. This is the fern that only fern that I have now, is it? Yeah, it's the only fern that I have now, the tiger fern. And I can see that it's, you know, we're just coming out of winter, you know, it's still just the beginning of spring. There is some new growth coming in, but I mean, it just suffered quite a bit in the winter because of the lack of humidity, the lack of watering, the lack of light, lack of sunlight. And it's just not looking its best. I actually might keep it and put it outside in the summertime when it gets warmer and there's more humidity. And I'll just keep it outside on the balcony, perhaps maybe in a hanging basket. But yeah, it's not bringing me any joy. So it is time for me to let this tiger fern go. This was purchased, I want to say 2020 sometime, maybe September 2020. And I can't remember how much it was, probably $24, I want to say $24, $25 to $30, maybe $20 to $30. The variegation, like once you get a really variegated pattern, it is quite beautiful. It doesn't bring me any joy and it doesn't look good. Not to say that all your plants have to look good, it's just not looking good coming out of the winter. More growth as we are now out of winter, going into in spring and going into summer. So hopefully we can see this grow, but it's not, yeah, anyway. Ooh, My last plant, is this my last plant? I think it's the last one, is the variegated jade plant. Now this plant and this pot, I love this pot. The pot is from Walmart years ago. This plant, this jade plant, also sits in the windowsill and also is forgotten about. When I do remember to water it, it is really wrinkled. I believe it probably had some sort of pest. You can see a little bit of damage on one of the leaves there. Now that I'm looking at it, I can see there is some new growth on it, and the variegation is really pretty, and it's watered, so the leaves are quite thick and juicy. I actually might decide to keep this one. Yeah, this is a variegated jade plant. It is a Crassula ovata. Crassula ovata. This was probably what it was from a vendor on Etsy, and they were located in Quebec, I believe. Yeah, you know, I'm looking at this now. I actually may keep this one. I have a regular green jade plant, but the variegated one is looking better. I actually might move this one under, put it beside my green jade plant under the grow light. I mean, it hasn't grown much since I got it. It was a cutting. It does have a very thick stem, so it does have some potential. Yeah, I think I've decided to keep this variegated jade plant. Of the 11 plants that I am releasing and letting go, and hoping that somebody else can appreciate them more than I can and will give them the love and care that they need, I will keep my jade, variegated jade plant, and I will keep you updated. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Have a lovely morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. Peace.